Hello and welcome back to Alice Talks Football and welcome back to another live Manchester United news and Takeover news show. Today is an exciting live stream because this is Takeover deadline day. Sheikh Jassim's big fat bid for Manchester United is going to go in the next 3 hours. Next 3 hours, and there's already rumours going around about what his bid might be. Now there is non-disclosure agreements, and I don't think many people will have any idea what this number will be, but the speculated number coming out is 7 billion. Another speculated number coming out is 5.5 billion. Now, I want to address this 7 billion rumor. Now, I have not had much time to actually get into depth about what has been said by Phil and what has been said by people because I've just been stupidly busy today getting my uni work done, etc., etc. But this is the guy who basically Phil kind of said in August, September maybe, that when it went quiet, we had the protest in August, and we wanted Sir Jim, and believe it or not, back then, and then it went quiet, and then Phil, I think, came out maybe early September. And it was only him and Mike Keegan. It was only Phil and Mike Keegan saying this back in September, and this was 2-3 months before United announced that it was up for sale. He was saying that United was going to announce they're up for sale. He was saying that he had heard things that a takeover is happening soon, that United are going to announce they're up for sale. This was the guy with Mike Keegan talking about potential sale of Manchester United a couple months in advance before the club then announced it was up for sale. When we thought the sale was gone, dead over, he was one of those people that actually was saying, look, I've got some information here. The club is going to go up for sale soon, etc., etc. So he's not like an ITK account, as in someone that's just going to put out crap for the sake of crap. There's a lot of ITK accounts lying to us on the takeover. He is someone that when he says something, I generally believe he's been told that by a source that he believes is credible. I don't think he would make something up. I don't know the context of it. It could be 7 billion, the price of Manchester United. It could be 7 billion, the bid that Qatar put in. We do need more information on that. But the rumor going around and the speculated rumor going around is that Qatar are putting in a 7 billion bid for United. Now, I want to say, first of all, this isn't David Ornstein, Fabrizio Romano announced or confirmed. This is a rumor. There's no confirmation in the bid being 7 billion yet. There's still other price tags being touted around. However, one of the reports by Jamie Jackson was saying 4.5 billion. Why would their third bid be the same price as their first bid? I don't believe Jamie Jackson's report, but there are a lot of rumours, price tags being touted around. I do want to say, obviously, take everything with a pinch of salt. I'm not saying that the bid is going to be 7 billion, but I'm saying that this is a guy who clearly does have some decent level of information teasing around the idea of 7 billion, and it's kind of started this craze in the fan base that this could be a 7 billion bid, because a 7 billion bid is like, the Glazers don't say no. Like the Glazers don't say no to a 7 billion bid. Now, I would be shocked if it's 7 billion. I think I could see something between 5.5 and 6 billion coming in, between 5 and 6 billion myself. I'd be shocked if it's 7 billion. But if it's 7 billion, Qatar are bidding. Sir Jim, get in the bin. Elliott Group, Carlisle Group, get in the bin. Because there will be no way in hell the Glazers would turn down 7 billion. If they do, I would. Well, I'm not going to say I'd sell my house, actually, because, I can't. It's my parents' house. But do you know what I mean? Like, if this is true, then this would be madness as well. It's 5 billion, not 7 billion. There's lots of reports coming out, and it is speculation so far. It's just, what is exciting about the speculation is it isn't ITK speculation. It isn't speculation from a random person throwing it out. This is someone that's been very accurate when they've not said much on the takeover, but when they have said stuff, been very accurate. I think if Mike Keegan, Ornstein, or Romano came out and went bish bash boss 7 billion bid, that is what you need. I think they are the people that will know, and we don't know the figures of the bid. Now, reportedly, the first bid was just over 4.5 billion. The second bid was in the 5.23 billion mark. So I'd assume that the third bid would be in the 5.5 billion mark. That would be my prediction. But, there is rumours coming out around a 7 billion bid. But I want to obviously say this is speculative info. I'm not saying a 7 billion bid has happened. I'm not saying that in the slightest. I'm saying, breaking the rumour is that there could be a 7 billion bid going in tonight. Over 1 billion on players with top managers under the Glazers. Look, we need new owners. We need a new stadium. We need new transfers. We need a new strategy. We can only speculate how much it will be. Again, it's just a rumour. I think 6 billion could be pretty accurate as well. Sheikh Jassim's final offer for Manchester United is again improved from his second bid and expected to go in shortly behind today's deadline. What we will do is we will get into the news that we know is official. Again, we don't know if the bid is 7 billion. We don't know this for true. This is just a rumor going in about a 7 billion bid. So we obviously do need to take things with a pinch of salt here. as I've said multiple times, I think there did he put out something? Someone else put out something. There's obviously lots of rumours as well. There was a rumour that the opening bid was 5 billion, but it doesn't make much sense as well. There was more saying that it would be 5 billion, which is 6 billion in euros. There was a lot of information about it as well. But the rumour going out is 7 billion. But as I've said, I want to clear up, it's not confirmation or anything like that. I'd be very surprised if we do get 7 billion bid going in, but I did want to cover the rumours coming in as well. There is also a report that Qatar are bidding under 5 billion, but the thing is, the report that's come out today that Qatar are bidding under 5 billion is no more makes no more sense than Qatar bidding 7 billion, because Qatar have reportedly already bid 5 billion. So why would Qatar's third bid be less than their second bid? There's a report today from Jamie Jackson suggesting that Qatar's third bid will be lower than their second bid. And there's another report today saying the third bid's going to be 7 billion when the price tag is 6 billion. Some of the news, some of the news and rumors, I think it's hard because one source is saying less than 5 billion, one source is saying 7 billion. If a reliable source came out and went, yeah, this bid's going to be 5.7 billion, we'd all believe it. But because some sources are saying 5 billion or less than 5 billion, some sources are saying 7 billion, we're like, well, that's too less and that's too much. So I think it makes it hard to believe in that sense, if I'm getting as well. But the last time the journalists were reporting 6 billion, when it was agreed on 5 billion, so expect their billion off again. And I think Alex has probably put the most sensible comment in here. I think when it's being reported 7 billion, it will probably be 6 billion, and that might probably be enough. We'll obviously have to wait and see what happens with that. But I do want to get into what has been said in general, what the general census is. Now, it was said from Miguel Delaney today that Qatar are going to put in a seriously improved offer for Manchester United. I'm going to get into some other reports and rumours going in as well. It was said that Qatar will significantly improve their second offer for Manchester United. So while we've got Jamie Jackson saying that United aren't particularly going to improve their offer, la-di-la-di-la-di-la-di-la, you've then got other sources saying no, United are going to significantly improve their offer. And I think the frustrating thing about this takeover is every single source is telling us something different. Every single source has a bit of information. And I don't really think anyone knows anything, really. I think because the non-disclosure agreements around the deal, I only think there's very few people out there that know things. And they don't know if what they know is true or not because of the non-disclosure deals, because we are getting such a vast in reporting. One journalist says one thing, another journalist says another thing. We will probably know tonight that the bid goes in. We will probably know an estimated price tonight. But I think, I don't even think David Ornstein or Romano right now probably have a clue what's going on. I think there's very few people that know. There's probably journalists that have a speculative age range, but speculative bid range. But I think because this takeover process has been quiet, because this takeover process has signed all these non-disclosure agreements, I wouldn't be shocked if not many people in the space really knew what was going on. And I think there will be a lot of inaccuracies in reporting. I don't know anything. I'm just reporting what people say. And I always say on my channel throughout this takeover process, I say this source said this source said this source is reliable, this source is not reliable, this source could be reliable, but this and this. I always try and be as honest as I can. I don't know information, but I get all the information that we've been given. I try and analyze it, and I would say that I probably would expect to bid in the region of 5.5 to 6 billion if I was going to guess, but I'm not a journalist. I know nothing, and I couldn't tell you how reliable these sources were. But a significant amount of sources are saying they're going to significantly improve their bid. And I believe this from Miguel Delaney. And the reason I believe this is, one, because he's got a Qatar agenda. He's one of the people that wants Sir Jim Ratcliffe in. So, he wouldn't be tweeting something about Qatar really raising their offer unless I think, he was told that by a reliable source. He's been tweeting very biased towards Jim Ratcliffe in his reporting. He's now putting out information that would suggest strongness in terms of Qatar. And he's been a journalist that's very heavily behind Sir Jim Ratcliffe. But another reason I think that this is reliable and this source of information from Miguel Delaney is true that Qatar is significantly going to improve their bid is because we know and we have been told that this third and final round of bidding is the final. There is no bid after this. This is your last chance to put in a bid. This is the final bid. Qatar know that this is their final offer. This is their final bid. The Glazers have been playing the games all week. The news 2 days ago about Jim Ratcliffe's offer has broken. Qatar really want United. Qatar are confident and they are committed to buying 100% of United. Qatar have gone out of their way to build this 9-2 foundation employ all these people, to have all these meetings with the Glazers in Qatar, in the UK, 10-hour-long meetings, employing people on long contracts. The 9-2 foundation was set up. They've set up a 9-2 foundation to buy United. They've got to be pretty confident they're going to get it if they even made a 9-2 foundation to do this. They've gone through potential barriers as well. If this is the final round of bidding, if they're hearing, about the other bidders, if this is their last chance to make a bid, to make an impression, and they want United and they're confident they're going to get United, then it's very obvious that Qatar are going to put in a significant bid tonight. Now, I don't think that bid will be as big as the £7 billion rumours, but I do think there's a lot of truth that Qatar's bid's going to be bigger tonight. And personally, myself, I don't know what's true. I don't know what's true. Miguel Delaney and 5 or 6 sources saying it's going to be a fat, massive bid. Jamie Jackson saying it's going to be a 4.5 to 5 billion bid, pretty small bid. Well, that's still a lot of money, but not much of an increase on the second bid. Journalists are telling us different things, and I don't know which journalist is right, which journalist is wrong. I don't know if these journalists know anything. These journalists could be playing with us. These journalists could be clickbaiting us. But my expectation would be that Qatar would put in a large bid. I don't know if it would be in that 7 billion mark, but I think it would be a large bid. I mean, United are almost $1 billion in debt, and it was also said today that if Sir Jim Ratcliffe wants to buy Manchester United, then he's going to put us in more debt. He's going to have to borrow money to do that. But Qatar are the only people that can invest money in Manchester United and actually not put us in more debt. And I think that puts Qatar, again, in a very strong and significant position, because I think with the debt we're in, with the interest repayments, because of that, it's actually hard to make Man United profitable when we have to pay so much back in loan and interest repayments as well, and that the debt levels we're already in, to put more debt on Manchester United might not be, great. So I do think, again, there's a clear advantage that, Sheikh Jassim will have in that sense as well. Each greedy Glazer sibling wants $1 billion each. You know what? Darcy and Kevin Glazer don't really care. It's Joe and Avram. They're the greedy ones as well. I mean, Joe and Avram are the ones that want to keep the club. The other Glazers are like, no, get rid. Probably want to get rid because they realise they're going to get a fat payday. But Joe and Avram are the greedy ones. We desperately need Qatar. Guys, smash that like button if you agree with me that we need Qatar. If you want Glazers out and you want Qatar in, smash that like button. And it will be $6 billion and Shashin will give it all in one piece, lol. I mean, that would be quite funny as well. It's $7 billion, including the $1 billion in debt. I mean, it could be a $6 billion bid that raises to $7 billion because that covers the $1 billion that they have in debt. Because, I think $7 billion going a billion over the asking price, it doesn't quite check out the room of $7 billion. There could be something to do with actually they're paying more, but the debt comes as part of their payment as well. I'm not 100% sure as well. Qatar not needed. Let's stay with the Glazers. They won us things. That has to be. I'm assuming that is a troll comment. I'm assuming that's a troll comment. Scary part is they don't get United. The Qataris will buy another Premier League club and it will be disastrous for us. And I was thinking this earlier today, actually. I was saying, what if the Glazers do stay? What if the Glazers accept Jim's proposal and we don't get Qatar? They will probably go and buy Liverpool or Arsenal. Probably Liverpool or Arsenal. They want a Premier League club. It's not like they're going to go abroad. They want a Premier League club. Man City are already miles ahead of us and are so far ahead of us. Newcastle will be so far ahead of us very soon. Look at the way they're going. Chelsea are a big fat mess, but they've got the funds and capabilities to go very far ahead of us if they sort themselves out. Arsenal could go ahead of us and Liverpool could go ahead of us. Even though they don't have the best owners, at least the owners are showing some ambition and some strategy when planning. And Arsenal or Liverpool could be the side that would next get an investment from Qatar if they don't get United, which would mean more and more teams would go ahead of Manchester United in the race for the takeover, which wouldn't be a good position. And surely 7 billion would be 6 billion baht and 1 billion to clear debt. I think that would be what it meant as well. We need to buy players early. We will talk about the Harry Kane news. Manchester United aiming and looking to buy players early in the transfer market, early in the transfer window. United have realised that, they need to go ahead and sign players early and the importance of signing players. So I do think we've got some news that United are starting negotiations to Kane, and then we'll get into transfer news later on. But this is obviously, the takeover bid deadline day. So obviously we want to sort of talk more about the takeover, but we will discuss that news later on as well. Ferguson won many trophies under the Glazers. He did, but he did that because he's Sir Alex Ferguson. I tell you what, Ten Hag could win a lot more trophies than anyone could win under. Sir Alex Ferguson could have won a lot more trophies if he didn't have the Glazers. He's just a miracle worker, won trophies under the Glazers. Ten Hag will win more trophies with Qatar ownership than Glazer ownership. I put my money on it. I think, yes, we can win trophies under the Glazers, but we can't be the level that Manchester City are. We can't be a consistent club when the Glazers will fork out money one transfer window, then just throw the manager under the bus the next transfer window as well. Buy the club, spend money improving the training, stadium, ground, facilities, and invest in the academies and women's football. Support the manager 100%. Don't take out dividends. Employ world-class professionals, and also add 0% debt to that. And that's what you get in the Qatar bid. Are we keeping Fred at the club? We've extended his contract for 1 year, but we're not interested in giving him a long-term renewal. So I think Fred will be here 1 more year, and then likely go as a free agent as a bench player next year as well. It could be $7 billion, which would be £6 billion. To be fair, he didn't clarify if it was $6 or $7 billion, euros, pounds, which I just assume pounds, naturally being English, but it's true that could be dollars and euros, which would be £6 billion. The pound is obviously higher, so that is a really good point that I didn't really think about as well. Scrolling down as well, British media want Jim Ratcliffe. I think less and less people in the British media now want Jim Ratcliffe. Now they realise that he would be keeping the Glazers in charge as well. Jim Ratcliffe would mean the Glazers is staying as well. And $7 billion is £5.5 billion. So it's true, it could be $7 billion, which is £5.5 billion, which is something I did not think of. So a very smart move as well. But this was obviously one of the reports that came in. Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani is expected to lodge an improved third bid of less than $5 billion from Man United. The offer would be markedly less than the $6 billion valuation, says Jamie Jackson. Now, the rumour is that there is a rumour saying that he's going to launch a bid under $5 billion. But that's come from one source. We've got 4 or 5 sources reporting it's going to be a big improved bid. This third bid wouldn't be much improved. So we don't know who's right, we don't know who's wrong, and we don't know who knows what really as well. No one knows nothing really, just bullshit news. We find out more in 24 hours. Keep up the good work, Alice. Thanks to Carl for the chat. And I think Carl sums up the takeover itself. People might know bits and pieces. I think people are speculating a lot. I don't think there's someone out there that just knows what's 100% going on, and I think we will find out more tomorrow, and we will get told this and that and this and that. But I think it's more as time goes on, we'll wait and see what happens as well. Qatar have always said that they will blow everyone out of the water. I mean, the feeling is Qatar are confident and they're ready to blow everyone out of the water. So it'll be interesting to see what way it paves as well. And the Sheikh will walk away because the Glazers are knobheads. We are set to be the laughing stock of the league. If we don't get Qatar, it will be a heartbreak in the sense of we've had the Glazers, but we've had this hope for 4, 5, 6 months nearly that the Glazers could be on the way out. For good 4 or 5 months, we've had this hope that the Glazers will be on the way out, and actually they could leave, and they're this close to leaving. And then you get, the idea of Middle Eastern investment, which is what Manchester City and Newcastle have got, who are probably the 2 teams thriving the most at the moment. And you look at that and you go, well, that's what we want Manchester United. We want Manchester United to have that investment. It doesn't have to be Middle Eastern investment, but we want that investment from smart people that care about football, that are willing to invest in the club. And I think having the hope of that and the hope of the Glazers leading, I think if Qatar didn't come in or if the Glazers did stay, we would be the laughing stock of the league, and it would be particularly heartbreaking as well. Sir Alex Ferguson was a genius, but this is a different level of money and competitive in the Premier League now. You need mega rich backing, and that's another good point. We've won things under the Glazers, but the Glazers don't have the financial capability that they used to have as well. Man United do not, Man United's money they can generate because they've been less successful on the pitch. They don't generate as much money as they could generate, but also because of the amount of money Manchester City, Newcastle, rivals, competitors have, Manchester United have to spend more to keep up with them. In the past, we didn't have to spend that much to keep up with rivals. Now we do, and that's a good point there as well. Sir Jim has become the wolf in sheep's clothing. It's Qatar or nothing. Yeah, there's a few people that wanted Sir Jim, but I think with Sir Jim's prospect of keeping the Glazers here, I think a lot of people have agreed on the deal that it is literally Qatar or nothing, because Qatar is the only way we can get the Glazers out. Whether you want Qatar or not, it seems to be the only way the Glazers will go. And the most important thing to me at the end of the day is that the Glazers go. The worst case scenario is that the Glazers stay 100% as well. $7.3 billion equals £5.8 billion. I mean, there's a lot of speculation. I have to say, we don't know if it's $7 billion or £7 billion. If it's £7 billion, but if it's $7 billion, it'll be £5.5 billion as well. So Jim Rat, smash the like button if you are Glazers out as well. Breaking an improved bid for Manchester United that breaks the $5 billion mark is expected to be submitted tonight. And Mike Keegan is pretty reliable when it comes to news. Mike Keegan is pretty reliable when it comes to news. Let me see if he said anything. Because if that is true, then I would assume it's probably $7 billion. So let's have a look and see what Mike Keegan has been saying, people. He's obviously broken some stories here. So it's come out from Mike Keegan. An improved bid that breaks the $5 billion mark is expected to be submitted by Sheikh Jassim tonight. So above $5 billion. And I believe, if I was going to believe anyone, if I was going to believe anyone in this takeover news and this takeover debacle, I would probably believe Mike Keegan. I'm assuming it would be $7 billion then. I'm assuming it would be $7 billion and over £5 billion, which would be about £5.5 billion. But it's saying an approved bid that breaks the $5 billion mark is to be submitted tonight, which, I mean, look, it's not the $6 billion the Glazers want, but if it's $5.5 billion, considering they've got to pay off $1 billion in debt because of that, because they've got to pay off $1 billion in debt because of that, I would then start thinking, well, that would be close to the $6 billion mark when you're taking the debt. It was also said by Mike Keegan that Sheikh Jassim's next bid is thought to be one for full control of Manchester United, unlike Jim Ratcliffe's, and that Sheikh Jassim will not go near the $6 billion for Manchester United and is determined not to grossly overpay. So I think the £7 billion rumours could be a $7 billion rumours, and it's looking like it's going to probably be in the 5.5 billion mark. Looking like I think 5.5 billion, which would be $7 billion, would probably be the most accurate representation of that. There's rumours of $7 billion. $7 billion is just under 5.5 billion pounds. Mike Keegan saying it's less than 6 billion, but more than 5 billion, 5.5 billion pounds. I would then take this prediction that actually it's probably 5.5 billion pounds, because I would believe Mike Keegan over a variety of sources. I think that he is one of the few people that, if someone knows something, it will be him. He's also said earlier this Rain Group sought out further information from those in the running for Manchester United. Bidders were asked to clarify their source of their wealth, an explanation of who would be the ultimate owner. Future financial plans were also requested. So earlier this week, the Rain Group want information about, how they're going to get the money, the source, who would actually be the ultimate owner, where the financial plans, etc., so that they know the money is there as well as what's coming out from Mike Keegan. So I think that is the report that we needed, because I think there was Jamie Jackson saying 4.5 billion, then we've got other people saying 7 billion, but they didn't qualify if that was £7 billion or $7 billion. I think it could be $7 billion, which is 5.5 billion pounds. I think it will be between 5 and 6 billion pounds. I think Mike Keegan is right on that, and I think we'll get more clarification of that later. Again, I think if someone knows something, it is Mike Keegan. I think he is the one to follow for this. I think he is the one that's been pretty reliable through this, and he's always said, Qatar are confident. Sheikh Jassim is confident. They will bid for United. They want 100% of United, and they believe that their bid will be accepted. That has always been said by Mike Keegan. He has been spot on with everything so far. Yes, it won't be the 6 billion that the Glazers want. Yes, there's got an option here from Jim Ratcliffe that could be appealing to them. But I think, 5.5 billion pounds, if that is what the offer could be, you don't turn that down, especially when you've got $1 billion in debt, $2 billion to invest in the stadium. If you're Qatar, you're saying, I'm offering you 5.5 billion, but with the debt you have, I'm technically offering you 6.5 billion. With the money I've got to invest, I'm technically offering you 8.5 billion. Take the 5.5 billion and go, because Sir Jim Ratcliffe won't have the money to improve the facility or improve the stadium straight away. Sir Jim Ratcliffe won't have the money to do this. Your minority investors have the money to do this, this, and this, but then you don't get any of the money. If you get money from, obviously Sir Jim Ratcliffe buying a stake, but you still have to deal with the club. And I do think that the full sale should hopefully be the most appealing options for the Glazers as well. Even 5 billion is fair. I mean, look, the club is anything over 5 billion, the Glazers should accept. If the Glazers don't accept anything over 5 billion, they're greedy. The club is worth probably 4 billion pounds. I think if you're bidding 5 billion pounds, you're bidding over what it is. Whatever it is, I can't see 7 billion quid. They want United, but they aren't idiots, and that's a good point. I think 7 billion pounds, when you think about it, probably $7 billion it's got to be, at least, would be unreal. If the price tag is 6 billion, why would they bid 7 billion pounds? If they're bidding $7 billion, it's 5.5 billion pounds. They're always surely going to bid under the price tag. I believe Qatar will always bid under the price tag, and they can always raise that. I think bidding somewhere in the 5 to 5.5 billion mark is just under that 6 billion. It could be negotiated up to 6 billion, but also Qatar seem pretty confident from their meetings that the Glazers will do the full sale as well. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Jassim will just go to the cash point. The money is in the 92 Foundation account, and Sir Jim Ratcliffe will have to take out a loan. And that is the thing as well. Sir Jim Ratcliffe is obviously putting in his offer for United, but Sir Jim Ratcliffe has got to provide proof of where his funding will come from. He's got to give evidence of how he's going to get the money, and that will be borrowing money. Borrowing more money, putting the club in more debt. Well, obviously the Glazers are thinking, well, the money's going to go to us. This is Sir Jim Ratcliffe's debt to deal with. But is that an appealing prospect? More in debt on the club, borrowing more money on the club, etc., etc., etc. The appeal of the Glazers staying involved and Jim Ratcliffe's bid means they must significantly increase their bid to be sure of winning. And it's also said that their bid will be significantly increased as well. And my mouse is frozen. Qatar, no Sir Jim Ratcliffe. I mean, does anyone here want Sir Jim Ratcliffe, or is everybody in the chat pretty much get the Glazers out, get Qatar in as well? Still not convinced the Glazers want to sell. I mean, look, you never know. The majority of news has suggested from reliable sources that the Glazers want to sell. And it would make more sense for the Glazers to sell because they'd actually get more financial gain from selling. And we know the Glazers like financial gain. However, if the Glazers don't get 6 billion, they might say to Qatar, yeah, you've given me 5.5 billion, but it's not 6 billion. F off, and they could stay. They could be true on their word that if they don't get 6 billion, they stay. I think Qatar are taking a slight risk going under that 6 billion. But I do think the Glazers will go because I think it makes logical sense for them to go. But the Glazers don't do a lot of things that make logical sense as well. Alice, do a poll. I'll do a poll for Qatar or Sir Jim then. Might lag as I get the poll up, so I do apologise if that. Let me have a. Okay, so we're going to do a poll. Sorry, it's just lagging here. Do you want Qatar or Sir Jim? I'm assuming most of you will want Qatar, but I will put the poll in there to just see as well. But it's saying the Lawton Times have just said breaking Sheikh Jassim's final bid for Manchester United will only be a minor increase on the previous bid, and insiders insisted it's only a fraction over 5 billion. So there's more saying it's going to be over 5 billion, but it's not going to be this 7 billion mark reported as well. I think if it's 7 billion, it's $7 billion, not 7 billion pounds, because a lot of people reporting it's going to be over 5 billion, but not massively over 5 billion, which would be about $7 billion. Again, we don't know what the bid will be and how much it will be as well. But it is said that the bid will break the £5 billion mark as well. Obviously, Mike Keegan said there's an improved bid from Sheikh Jassim to land tonight. It would break the 5.5 billion barrier. It would beat the 4.77 record fee of billion by the Washington Commanders, but Qatar won't bid the 6 billion as well. So it's good. So it's going to be a bid over 5 billion tonight as well, which will be interesting to see where that goes as well. Will the Glazers turn down 5 billion? I don't know. I would be shocked if the Glazers turn down 5 billion, but they are greedy. That's not the 6 billion they've been talking about this whole time. Maybe they would go into an exclusivity period, a negotiation period with Qatar. It is said in the coming days after these bids go in, it's going to take them less than a week, and within the next week they're going to choose someone to go into an exclusivity period. And I think this is something that's really important to note, that the Glazers are going to choose someone within the next week to go into an exclusivity period, which means we will know and we will have an idea of what's going to happen next week, because we'll know which that is chosen. Is it Jim Ratcliffe? Is it the Elliott Group? Is it the Carlisle Group? Who will they choose to go into that exclusivity period will also be revealed tomorrow as well. Glazers out, get out now. Wanted to take Ratcliffe with you as well. And Qatar will walk away. I mean, potentially, if the Glazers take the mick, I expect 5.5 to 6 billion at most. I expect the bid to be in the 5.5 billion mark as well. And yeah, you've got to be $7 billion, as it would be okay for the Glazers. I think £7 billion. As I said at the start of the live stream, I'd be very surprised if they put £7 billion, because that'd be quite foolish. It would be over the asking price as well. And whoever wants Sir Jim Ratcliffe is an absolute disgrace, supporting the person who wants to keep the Glazers disgrace. I've got to begin with why people might prefer Jim Ratcliffe to Qatar for personal preference. I've always preferred Qatar to Sir Jim Ratcliffe, you know me. I've got big red flags around Sir Jim Ratcliffe buying United when he was going to be borrowing money. What he's done at OG Nice isn't particularly good, but some people felt that him being English, businessman, a so-called United fan, people obviously wanted Sir Jim Ratcliffe because he would have, he seemed to be an improvement on the Glazers. But now, when we're hearing that he would be the man that would let the Glazers stay, I don't get anyone that would want Sir Jim Ratcliffe in. I don't get anyone one bit that would want Sir Jim Ratcliffe in as well. Also, get in Garnacho signing a new contract and staying at United to play and not go to the Under-20s World Cup. I was going to bring this up, actually. Let me just take a quick swig of water. Yeah. Garnacho was rumoured to obviously be leaving for the Under-20 World Cup, but he has signed a new contract at United for the long haul. He is staying. He is here for the FA Cup final. He's back from his injury. Garnacho will be back in the lineup very, very soon. And that is really great positive news. I think we've missed Garnacho. We've missed his directness, his threat, his eagerness to get involved. I think he's a very good, young, talented winger. I think Garnacho, Pellistri, Ahmad, Sancho, Anthony, Rashford, that's 6 good young wingers with potential there that I've named. And I think United need improvement in pretty much every area of the pitch but winger. And I know that Ahmad, Pellistri and Garnacho aren't the finished product, but I think the one area I think we're particularly strong in at the moment is wingers. And I think we've got a lot of good young people going through. I think we need a striker. I think we need 2 midfielders. I think we need to be less reliant on Bruno and Casemiro. I think we need a centre-back. I think we need a right-back. I think we need a goalkeeper. One area we don't need, I think, particularly is wingers. And I think that's because we've got such a good choice of young wingers coming through that really helps for that as well. Stuart says, I prefer the Qatari bid when the money comes from oil than money from a US syndicate that is based on a US crap dollar that will soon be based in thin air. So Stuart. And Alice, what is the update by Ornstein? Ornstein's not really given much of an update so far. Mike Keegan's really the guy to follow for the takeover. Ornstein's good for transfers. Mike Keegan's good for takeover as well. And bids aren't comparable. Buying 100% of the club and delist from the stock exchange. Sir Jim's bid isn't even close. And I think that Qatar's bid will be the most attractive. It said that Qatar's bid is set to be the favourites. It said that Qatar's bid is set to be the biggest for Manchester United. And I believe that Qatar's bid will be, the most attractive for the Glazers. And the reason I say that and the reason I believe that is, this is 100% of the club. This is clearing the debt. This is clearing all their options. This is giving them mass amounts of money. It seems that now no one other than Qatar is going in with a full takeover bid. And Qatar are giving them over 5 billion, which is a world record bid. If the Glazers turn down over 5 billion for United, which is a world record bid, I would be absolutely shocked, because it's coming out, it's being said, it's suggesting they are putting in some new kind of world record level bid for Manchester United. Like that is, incredible. And I think that, would the Glazers turn that down? I would be very shocked. I'd be very shocked. I think, as Alex said, I think, their bid is unmatchable. Their bid is unmatchable, but we don't know what the Glazers' intentions are. It makes sense for the Glazers to sell. Do the Glazers do things that make sense? Not particularly. So although Qatar's bid could be unmatchable, although it makes so much sense for the Glazers to sell, etc., when do the Glazers do things that make sense? Not very often, and that is a worrying thing. And very rarely do the Glazers actually do things that make sense as well. Guys, please do smash that like button, and of course subscribe down below to Alice Talk Simple if you're new. If you do want to stay up to date with all the latest Manchester United news, transfer news, updates and more, make sure you subscribe to the channel, because throughout the transfer window I will be giving you updates as well. Garnacho will even under 3 years, but he's signed a new 5-year contract, so if that is the case, we'll get money for him as well. We need a goalkeeper. I agree. I think De Gea's distribution is starting to cost us, but I still think midfield and striker is a bigger priority. And according to Twitter, the deal is down with Qatar, 5.7 billion in total. 7 billion. I won't believe anything just official. Yeah, I wouldn't believe that. I think that's just ITK accounts making false news up as well. I have a feeling we won't get Qatar and we'll be depressed again. Hopefully not. I'm trying to be as positive as I can. So let's have a look as well. With Rat and Glazers, we will get players like Vout. So no, thank you. I mean, I think we, like watching the Tottenham game, we could just see that Manchester United are in need of a big transfer window. Just watching that Tottenham game. And I think, like the lack of squad depth that we have, and we need a lot of investment. We need 6-7 players. We're 6-7 players away from competing with Manchester City. We're on a good track. I think Ten Hag is making good progress. I think Ten Hag is doing a good job. But I think Manchester United are 6-7 players away from Manchester City, from rivals. And I think we could see that through watching the Tottenham game. And I think that even says even more why we don't want the Glazers to stay, or why we don't want Sir Jim, because they're the type of people that might invest in that first transfer window, but don't have the money to significantly invest in Ten Hag through multiple transfer windows. That is one big thing that they won't have. And I think investment is needed, and, more debt on the club, less money for investment. I think, that's one thing that we want to avoid as Manchester United fans as well. Sir Jim is a complete traitor. I mean, he's saying he's a Manchester United fan, but he tried to buy Chelsea as a Chelsea season ticket, and he will bid to keep the Glazers in charge. For me, Sir Jim is not a United fan. He's a businessman that only cares about money and is not interested in Manchester United as well. Also, Weghorst has given the green light to return to Besiktas on the right fee and wages. Yeah, I think Weghorst knows he's not good enough to stay at United. I think it would have been his dream to stay at United, but he has given the green light that he will go back to Besiktas after his loan. It's pretty much confirmed that Weghorst won't be staying after his loan. Yeah, Jim Ratcliffe just completely outed himself. You're spot on. Completely outed himself, completely exposed himself. You're absolutely spot on there. If you work at Rain, you'll know how much the bids are. But until anything is announced, take it with a pinch of salt. 100%, 100%. I do think the bids will be in around the 5 to 5.5 billion mark. If I was to predict the bid, I would say 5.5 billion, which would be $7 billion, a little bit less. I think it will be between 5 and 5.5 billion if I was to predict the bid, but I don't think anyone really knows until it's done as well. What's that? Just ignore that. So every time Eric talks to the Glazers, shakes their heads, he's a traitor too. Too many children here. I wouldn't say Eric is a Glazer. Eric's got to respect the Glazers. He's employed by them. He can't talk crap about them, in my opinion. You know, being a traitor is doing what you can to keep the Glazers at United. Sir Jim Ratcliffe has an opportunity to buy United and get rid of the Glazers, but he realised he cannot financially compete with Qatar, and he wants United so badly that he'd be willing to keep the Glazers here and propose a new kind of offer to buy United, because the reason he wants United so badly is because Sir Jim Ratcliffe's exposed himself as wanting United for financial business reasons, which are the wrong reasons as well. Their course has been okay this season, couldn't hit a barn door. I mean, I was just trying to be nice, okay? I didn't have high expectations about their course. And Nick says, shame about their course. Wish we would have more players come in with his passion and work rate. Hardly score, but had a work rate and passion that more than most players that United have had, i.e. Maguire. And Nick makes a good point. At the end of the day, like, their course, you can't dislike his character, you can't dislike his personality. He's just not good enough. He's coming for United, he's living the dream, he's playing for his life, he's giving his all while playing for United, you know. And the way he works, the way he plays, you know, you look at that and you can only be happy with how much effort and how hard their Ghost is working and how hard he plays as well. You know, you can only be happy with that. You can only see that and go boom, boom, boom. But he's not good enough. And it's like the personality I see from Begos at full time, when we won the FA Cup semi-final, when we won the Carabao Cup, it means a lot to him. And I think some players at United take their position for granted. They're on high wages, they're cool, they've got the social media following, they score a few goals. And I think there's a lot of players at Man United that take their position for granted. Begos has been at Burnley, he's been in the Turkish league. When he went to United, this was the biggest moment of his career. This was the step up of his career. Whereas I think some people have taken that for granted. You know, you see, you know, Anthony was so eager to come to United. Ajax to Manchester United, big step up. Leacher, eager to come to United, big step up. But I think sometimes, you know, in the case of Di Maria and Falcao and previous United players, when you come from a big club or you're on big wages already in a club that was maybe more successful than United because we didn't finish the top four under Moyes, you come to United like, oh, this club's, you know, ooh. But it's like, we are Manchester United. Do you not respect the size of Manchester United, what Manchester United are? Well, you clearly don't. You know, you clearly don't understand that this is Manchester United. You're playing for United. I think there's shirts that some players that sometimes when they put on their Manchester United shirts don't realise that they are playing for one of the biggest and most historic football clubs in the world, the biggest in England, the best in England, with the most history, with the largest fan base. And it's, you know, they forget that. And I think that their course looks at United and it's like, this is something I've only dreamed of. This is unreal to be here. And, you know, he's not good enough, but when he puts on that shirt, you can see that Vegas just gives it his all. He will give anything to be here as well. I don't see any upside from Sir Jim's bid, keeping the debt while adding more, decaying Old Trafford facilities while slipping down the table. Yeah, I don't see any positive out of Sir Jim's bid either. I mean, if anyone wants Sir Jim's bid to be successful, please tell me why. Please tell me some reasons as well. But yeah, our bench is poor. We need fresh bloods and new stadium. With the Glazers again, we are done. Exactly, more reason to get the Glazers out as well. I wouldn't compare Maguire to the Glazers. You know, Maguire's not good enough for United. He's not captain material. Maguire needs to be sold. The Glazers are evil. You know, Maguire's not evil. Maguire's a player that wanted to make it United, that maybe rates himself a bit too much, but he's just not good enough for United. Glazers, bad people. Maguire, all right footballer, not good at United though. Their course is a Gala 2.0, loads of passion, but not much talent. And that's the problem. We need players with talent and passion. We have players with talent, we have players with passion, and we have a few players that have got both. But you need a mix of both. And sometimes, you know, and I think this is one of the reasons that Chelsea and PSG have problems, because PSG and Chelsea signed all these big names, all these big players on this money. There is the talent there, but they don't have the attitude, they don't have the passion, they don't have the work rate of some of those players, which means they can't play together as a team, they can't gel. Specifically Chelsea, signing 30-odd players, spending all that money, having too many players in the dressing room, too many options. These players don't like each other, they don't work together, they don't glue, they don't know how to play with each other because they haven't established that relationship, they haven't been together long enough. There's too many attitudes, there's too many egos. You know, they've got the talent, a lot of these Chelsea players, but we're not seeing it. I think Chelsea signed some fantastic players and they should not be in 11th. but it's a lot about personality. And, you know, at least Weghorst had that. I'm no fan of Sir Jim, but he'd be using borrowed money as it's cheaper in terms of interest and then giving up interest earned on Ineos Fast Wealth. I mean, I just think anything that means more debt. The only my thought process is Qatar is no debt, Qatar is no Glazers staying. So Jim is more debt, it's Glazers staying. For me, Qatar is just my priority. Turn around after Lindelof's penalty and running down towards the United fan and sliding his knees, 100% passion for the club, and he's only on loan. I did love that. I did love that moment as well. Sir Jim has clearly not read the room. All of you do not watch any United game to know it, to know it's full sale only. Yeah, if you are a United fan, you know it's full sale only. You know the idea of the Glazers staying there, the enemy. That is the worst thing that can happen. And Sir Jim Ratcliffe is refusing to comment on these rumors, refusing to comment on these bids because he knows that no one wants the Glazers to stay. And he is not a United fan. He's exposed his true self. He's exposed his true agenda of he's got this plan, and his plan is I want United for business reasons. I want anything I can to acquire United for business reasons. I don't care who's at risk. And Sir Jim's exposed himself there as well. Good that Garnacho signed a new contract. Martinez is the prime example of passion and work rate and talent as well. Martinez is one of the most likable and best signings Manchester United have made post Sir Alex Ferguson. Martinez and Bruno are prime examples of personality, work rate, mentality, and ability. Martinez and Bruno Fernandes, two perfect signings as well. I'm hearing Neymar to United rumours. I think that is one that I'd be surprised if it happens. But again, Neymar, fantastic player, but he's injury prone. We've seen what Martial does injury prone. We've seen what Pogba does injury prone. And has he got the attitude? Could he just drop the dressing room? Neymar's someone Chelsea would sign right now, I feel like, as well. Garnacho should start before Sancho. I thought Sancho was really good, actually. I thought he was one of our best players and we got worse as he came off. And I think that penalty against Brighton put Sancho up a level. But I think Garnacho in certain games adds more than Sancho. But I think if Sancho is in form, you know, and we get the Sancho that we see glimpses of, I'm happy for Sancho to start. But sometimes we see Sancho when he does nothing. Sancho was fantastic versus Spurs, tracked back, got the ball, shot. If Sancho would just get the ball and shoot more, he'd have 5-6 more goals this season, but he doesn't. If you just get the ball and take on his man more, he'd had a few more assists and he'd have done more. And I think Sancho's a confidence player because I think if Sancho does these things, he gets these goals, he gets these assists, he's better than Garnacho. But Garnacho gets the ball and he tries to do these things, which makes Garnacho more exciting than Sancho in that sense as well. And if Sheikh Jassim Al-Thani doesn't get United, they will go for Liverpool at some point because one of Al-Thani's brothers is a Liverpool fan, and that's the last thing we want to happen is Liverpool getting taken over as well. And players need is a number 9 backup. Number 9 backup for De Gea, Casemiro, Bruno, Lindelof could be third choice, but need quality too if we want Europe and major trophies. What I think we need is Moises Caicedo, Frankie de Jong type player. Someone that's very creative, maybe James Maddison if Leicester go down, that could play as an 8 or a 10, give Bruno some backup. I think we need a right back. I think we need a centre back. I think we need a goalkeeper. I think we need a striker. I think that's what we need. I think we need a lot. 145 likes, people. Let's go for 200 likes. So smash that like button if you're Glazers out as well. I agree. I'd prefer Qatar, but Sir Jim must be better than Glazers staying in control. You make the thing is, Sir Jim originally is better than the Glazers, but Sir Jim's new bid that keeps the Glazers here is worse. Do you get what I mean? You know, his original bid, which was, yes, he buys the club on debt, but the Glazers go, was better than the Glazers staying. But his new bid is keeping the Glazers here as well. It's sale or nothing. Sir Jim out, Glazers out permanently. Al-Thani and Qatar in. Let's stay calm and confident, says the chosen one as well. And look of the passion bound to happen when we overpay and give massive wages to many reluctant signings in the post-Sir Alex Ferguson era. And that's the problem. Passion goes when we pay people too much money as well. Hopefully watch list Kane to bits of McAllister, Kim and Jay, Maguire, McTominay, Martial and Deadwood out, says David. Martinez is Vidic all over again. A player not heard about and exploded in the league with his defensive skill, with his body like Lyon with Vidic did. Just imagine Vidic in his prime era with Leach. Yeah, I think Nick makes a good point. Leach has just got that everything about him. He's got that every single thing about him, hasn't he, as well? I'm not confident we're getting Qatar. We never get any luck. It's AJ. And I think a lot of us have got hopes up and a lot of us got excited, but I think AJ is just going, this is United. They always let us down. I'm not getting my hopes up about a takeover. Guys, if you're watching right now and you're not subscribed to Alice Talks Football, please do go ahead and subscribe down below to Alice Talks Football. I go live every single evening on the channel, keeping you guys up to date with all the latest Manchester United news, transfer news, takeover news, and more. So if you want to stay up to date with all the latest Manchester United news regarding the takeover, we're going to get news coming in at 10 p.m. tonight regarding another Qatar bid. If you want to stay up to date with all the transfer news, once the takeover is sorted, the transfer news is going to heat up. I do match reactions, watch-alongs, and more. If you want to stay up to date with all the takeover news, all the transfer news, all the update news, and more surrounding Manchester United, make sure you go ahead and subscribe down below to Alice Talks Football for that content. We're on 60,850 subscribers. We're 150 subscribers away from 61k. I would like to hit 61k very, very soon. The goal is to go for 75k before the end of the year as well. So hopefully we can reach that. But continuing on as well, 7 billion off. I think it's $7 billion, which is 5.5 billion pounds as well. And if Qatar don't win the bid, we're done for. It would be very defeating, yes. And I hate to tell you, but 7 p.m. is gone. It's the 10 p.m. deadline, 10 p.m. deadline as well. And did Anthony have a big salt against Spurs? He has been brilliant in recently, chasing back the defence, but not his game. Anthony dropped off a bit versus Spurs, but I don't think he was poor. I think we got worse when Anthony came off because Spurs play very narrow. And when Anthony came off, I don't think we held the width very well. Let me just check if there's any more takeover news coming out while I've been talking as well. Garnacho with his new 2028 contract. Big up Garnacho staying as well. Let me just see if there's any news. It did say here that Sheikh Jassim's final bid for Manchester United will only be a minor increase on the previous bid. Insiders insisted it will only just be over 5 billion. So we're looking more at 5 billion mark is what the news is coming in as well. And obviously, Sheikh Jassim's next bid for United is thought to be one for full control. We'll just see if any other reports have come out, any other rumours have come out before I get into some Harry Kane news, before I get into some other news, before I read out the live chat as well. It's saying exclusive. If the Glazers are to choose a full sale and an agreement is reached, my expectation is that no one will match Sheikh Jassim's bid and he will become the new owner. So it's saying here by Ben Jacobs that, if, a full takeover happens, it is believed that Sheikh Jassim's bid will outmatch Sir Jim's. And it's between if the Glazers decide to stay or the Glazers decide to go. If the Glazers do decide to go, he's saying he's very confident that it will be Sheikh Jassim as well. A sneaky deal says Anthony's not that good. He's like Dan James to me. Anthony's levels ahead of Dan James, in my opinion. I think, Anthony's a system player. He's a team player. He works well with people, interlinks with people. I think Anthony makes us play better because he holds the width. He does more. And I think we'll see that more next season when we get that striker in and that overlapping fullback as well. To me, the sale process has come a distraction to the squad. Constant media coverage on the Glazers extending the process and our form has dipped. I think that's a point that I've not really thought of, but I think you make a point there. Is this potentially distracting the squad? Having this looming on in the background, is it a bit annoying? Is it potentially distracting the squad? And I think Alex makes a point there. This sale, that has been looming on as well. Joe and Abraham want to stay and team up with Jim Ratcliffe. I mean, there's rumours that they want to sell and there's rumours that they want to stay. I think some people get told one thing. I think other people get told another thing. I think the only people that know what's going to happen is the Rain Group and the Glazers. I think they put out stories as part of negotiation games to make sure they get the best offers as possible. I think their intention would make sense to leave, but the Glazers don't do things that make sense. So there is possibilities for them to stay as well. But anyway, guys, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe down below. I do want to talk about some Harry Kane news as well. And of course, subscribe down below to the channel. I wanted to say as well, regarding, obviously we've got some more takeover news to get in. I'm just going to swig this water. It was said today, by the way, breaking. Indirect negotiations have started for Harry Kane to Manchester United. The message between United and Tottenham over how they intend to approach a prospective transfer represents the drawing of battle lines. It said that Harry Kane will cost close to 100 million in transfer fee, not to mention his £300,000 a week wages. And that while Harry Kane is the striker Manchester United truly want to lead their attack next season, their alternatives are Victor Osimhen, Goncalo Ramos and Dusan Vlahovic because of Kane's crazy price tag, which David Levy will be making out of the water. So it's basically been said that Manchester United have had indirect negotiations for Harry Kane. United have started the transfer process for Harry Kane. They want Harry Kane. They started that transfer process, bish, bash, bosh. But they're being careful because they know what Daniel Levy's like. They know what he's like to deal with. They know that it's going to be particularly high priced. So they are keeping an eye on Dusan Vlahovic, Victor Osimhen, Goncalo Ramos. Harry Kane wants out of Spurs. He wants to leave Spurs. United want Harry Kane. Harry Kane is Ten Hag's dream, but Daniel Levy will make it difficult. Harry Kane himself was asked actually about the Manchester United fans chanting, "We'll see you in June. We'll see you in June," to him in the game yesterday. And he said, "I heard what they were saying, but I'm focused on this team and trying to finish strongly." Harry Kane didn't go, "No, you won't see me in June." Not sure why they're saying that. He doesn't deny it. And when when players don't deny something and they don't say no, and they just say, "Oh, I'm focused on this and that," that's them. That's their way of saying, "Yeah, I kind of want that move." Because Frankie de Jong came out and said, no, I only want to stay at Barcelona. The rumours aren't true. Frankie de Jong don't want to move. You know, Martinez, Antony, and Harry Kane, Ten Hag, when they're all asked about United, they're saying, I'm focused on Ajax. I'm focused on what I'm doing here. That's a sign of, ooh, you want to come. And I think Harry Kane would want to come to United, but I think it will be difficult to deal with Spurs. We should give Spurs 50 mil plus the best English defender, Maguire, for Kane. You know what? If I was asked, I would literally offer 60 million and Maguire, and I'd say, look, you need a centre back. Dyer is shit. Maguire's the man. Bish bash bosh, eh? We need the Qataris to get the Glazers out. I've not even been in the club. I've not been in the club since the Glazers have been in charge. You know, they've put us $1 billion in debt. I mean, they've put us $1 billion in debt. Smash the like button if you want the Glazers out. And remember, people, if you are new here, please do subscribe to Alice Talks Football. I go live every single evening on the channel, keeping you guys up to date on all the latest Manchester United news, transfer news, takeover news, and more. If you want to stay up to date with all the latest happening on the takeover of Manchester United, the transfer news, the updates, what's going around in the Manchester United scene, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. As well, because there will be videos. There could be a video tonight when the bid comes in the next 2 hours, a bid expected in the next 2 hours. There could also be a video tomorrow morning. There could be a breaking news video during the day. And to stay up to date on that, do subscribe to the channel as well. We need the Qataris to get the Glazers out 100%. We need Harry Kane. He would improve us. We just need to make sure we don't overpay for him, which we probably will. If it's the Qataris, I don't mind Kane because I know they will sort out his successor as well. If the Glazers stay, we won't sign another 9 for 5 years, and that's a good point as well. I think Harry Kane is a Robin van Persie signing. He's who Ten Hag wants. He'd be here for the next 2-3 years, but we need a successor. The ideal transfer window is Harry Kane, and next summer you go get Evan Ferguson or you get Højlund, one of those young players coming through. Man City have Haaland and Julian Alvarez, and Haaland's young. You know, we need a Harry Kane or we need a Højlund. We need an Evan Ferguson. We don't need a breadstick legs Martial. Manchester United fans are weak because you can't manage to make those beats become richer by buying tickets, but the club plays for losses and draws. I don't know what you mean by that, if I'm being honest. And Man United should never be state-owned. Let's support Sir Jim. Manchester United should not be owned by people putting the club in debt and taking out money in dividends. Let's support getting the Glazers out of the club as well. 100 million is lunch money, probably to Qatar as well. Can anyone explain to me what the final bid is? Because it was the final bid since the first one, and then new bid is allowed after the first, which shouldn't have happened. It's now 3 bids. Basically, there's a first round of bidding, a second round of bidding. The second round of bidding, I was either going to go and pick a preferred bidder or we're going to go into a third and final round of bidding. This round of bidding is the third and final round of bidding. Reportedly, this week, the Glazers will then pick the preferred bid. Rumours of Qatar bid being, $7 billion, which is $7 billion, not £7 billion. I will change the thumbnail after this video, was the rumour coming out. Mike Keegan saying it's going to be between the 5 to 5.5 billion mark. $7 billion is 5.5 billion pounds. Mike Keegan saying probably a bit lower than that. I think the bid's probably going to be around the 5.3 billion pound mark, and that will be the third and final bid. This time next week, the Glazers will reportedly have selected a preferred bidder, just one bidder, to go in that exclusive negotiation period and finalise the details, which will be happening during May. So that is kind of where the takeover is at. There was always going to be there was always going to be 2 rounds of bids. There was always going to be 2 rounds of bids, an initial stage of bidding and time for an approved offer. What we thought was after the second stage of bid, they were going to choose a preferred bidder. They didn't. They went into a third and final round of bidding. This is the final round of bidding. This is the Glazers have got to make their decision. They've got to move on. They've got to get that done. And hopefully it will be that they decide to go. And if the Glazers decide to go, it said very confidently that Qatar will be the next owners. But as I said, so many non-disclosure agreement deals have been signed in this process. I don't think that many people know that many things regarding the takeover or what's going on. The report is Qatar are the favourites. Qatar's bid will be the strongest, but the Glazers are most likely to sell. But there is news on the other hand saying, look, the Glazers will probably stay. It's so contradictory reports. It would make sense for the Glazers to go, but I don't think anyone knows what will happen. And we've just got to keep our fingers crossed and hope that this week we get an announcement that the Glazers have picked a preferred bidder in Qatar and that they will go. Alice, would you take João Felix at United? I mean, he wants to stay in the Premier League and we could use some creativity in attack. Depending on the price. I think João Felix is a good player. I think if we sign him instead of Outvegas, we'd have been in a much better position. I think he's a little bit overrated. I think he's going to be extremely overpriced because of Atletico. João Felix is someone I would take, on a decent deal. He's someone I would take for 40-odd million, 50-odd million, but, he's not worth 80 million that Atletico want. He's not that good. He's overrated. They spent a lot of money for him. 50 million or less, I'd take João Felix. But I think he's one of those overhyped stars, a lot of money, not proved it enough for me. but I would take him at United, but I wouldn't pay a crazy amount of money. But because of Atletico, you've got to pay a crazy amount of money. For me, I would much rather spend my money on Harry Kane, Victor Osimhen, on Carlo Ramos, Dusan Vlahovic. I think if you sign João Felix, you sign him as a Kane backup. I'll be honest, you sign him as a Kane backup. I really think you do. Glazers want money now, not waiting for Sir Jim to apply for the loan needed, says Jason. That's something. I mean, I don't know how long the loan would take to get. I'm not a banker. I don't know much in that sense as well. Osimhen or Harry Kane, who is more suitable to join United? I think Harry Kane is more likely, and I think he would probably be more Robin van Persie and suit us more. But I think long-term Victor Osimhen is the better, will be the better deal and the better player. Would you take Tammy Abraham up front? His stats better than Vlahovic's. Tammy Abraham's a decent player, but I think if we want to be where Man City are and other teams are, we need more than that. I think he's a good player. He's an improvement, but I think we need great players. Manchester United should be great players, in my opinion. Guys, keep smashing the like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. Remember, I'm going to be coming out with updates all throughout the week on the takeover process. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Every time there's a news update story on the takeover process and what is going on, I'll be there. Once that's done, the transfer window will be going on, bish, bash, bosh, and I will be keeping you updated on the transfer window and what's going on with that. So if you're not subscribed to Alice Talks Football, please do subscribe down below. If the Qatar and United, we should sign João Felix and Kane. Harry Kane and Højlund, I would prefer. I mean, for me, I would want Kane and Højlund. I mean, Osimhen would be fantastic as well. I like Carlo Ramos as well. Depends on it depends on the ilk of 9 Ten Hag wants. Kane and Osimhen complete different types, and I think he wants the Kane type. And at the end of the day, whether we want Kane, whether we want Osimhen, whether we think one's better than the other, the most important thing is we sign the one that is Ten Hag's first choice. We sign the one that Erik Ten Hag wants, in my opinion. But listen, people, I am going to wrap up today's live stream here. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you smash that like button, share the video, all of that. Might be back tonight. But once we get news of the big coming in, I could even be back tonight. If not, there'll be a video tomorrow morning. So do subscribe for that information. Smash a like. See you next time. Bish, bash, boss, and bye.